Good evening, everyone. Each of us carries within us untapped strength, hidden talents, and limitless potential. Yet, the greatest challenge we face is not the world outside, it is the world within. The path to self-mastery is not about conquering others, but about conquering ourselves. It is about aligning our mind, body, and spirit with purpose and discipline so that we can live with clarity, resilience, and meaning. True success begins when we stop seeking control over external circumstances and instead learn to master our inner state. Self-mastery is the foundation of growth, peace, and greatness. The very first step on the path to self-mastery is self-awareness. Without it, we move through life on autopilot, reacting instead of responding, chasing instead of choosing, surviving instead of thriving. Self-awareness is the foundation upon which all other forms of mastery are built, because you cannot change what you do not first recognize. To be self-aware is to step back and observe yourself, not with judgment, but with honesty. It means asking, who am I really? What are my values? What patterns do I repeat? And why? When we look within, we begin to notice not only our strengths, but also our blind spots, the hidden fears, the habits that hold us back, and the triggers that control our emotions. Most people spend their lives looking outward, trying to control circumstances or other people, but rarely do they pause to examine their own inner world. Yet the truth is, the greatest power we hold lies not in controlling what happens around us, but in mastering what happens inside us. Self-awareness sharpens this power. It allows us to understand why we think the way we do, why we feel certain emotions in certain moments, and why we make the choices we make. And with that understanding comes freedom, the freedom to pause, to reflect, and to consciously choose a response rather than falling victim to impulse. Think of it this way: when you drive a car, you constantly check the mirrors, the speed, the fuel level, the direction. Without that awareness, you risk an accident. Life works the same way. If we don't check in with ourselves, our thoughts, emotions, and actions, we risk steering our lives into chaos. Self-awareness is that inner dashboard that keeps us aligned with our values and purpose. It also brings clarity. When we know our strengths, we can build upon them. When we know our weaknesses, we can improve them or learn to manage them. When we know our values, we can make decisions that bring peace rather than regret. And when we know our triggers, we can stop being controlled by them. In short, self-awareness transforms us from being passengers in life to becoming the drivers of our own destiny. It is the light that illuminates the path of self-mastery and the compass that keeps us from drifting aimlessly. If self-awareness is the foundation of self-mastery, then discipline is the structure that rises upon it. Without discipline, awareness remains only a thought, a good intention, a passing idea. Discipline is what transforms intention into reality and dreams into achievements. It is the bridge between who we are and who we can become. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many see it as a form of restriction or punishment. In truth, discipline is not about limiting our freedom. It is about creating freedom. The disciplined person is free from the chains of procrastination, from the weight of unfinished goals, from the chaos of inconsistency. When we are disciplined, we gain control over our choices rather than letting impulses control us. Consider this: anyone can be motivated for a moment, but discipline is what sustains action when motivation fades. Motivation may inspire us to start, but discipline ensures we finish. Think of the athlete who trains daily before sunrise. the musician who practices for hours, or the student who studies consistently rather than cramming at the last moment. Their achievements are not born from fleeting bursts of energy, but from steady, repeated effort guided by discipline. Discipline also teaches patience. In a world that craves instant results, it reminds us that true growth is gradual. The tallest tree did not grow overnight. It rose slowly, nurtured by consistency. Likewise, every small, disciplined action, whether it's reading a few pages daily, exercising regularly, or practicing mindfulness, compounds into greatness over time. Another power of discipline is that it builds resilience. When we hold ourselves accountable to a routine, even when it feels difficult, we strengthen our willpower. Each time we resist the temptation to quit, we carve strength into our character. Discipline is not about never falling off track. It's about training ourselves to return again and again, no matter how many times we stumble. And perhaps the greatest gift of discipline is clarity. When we commit to certain habits and actions, we eliminate distractions. We no longer waste energy on deciding what to do each day. We simply do it. That consistency frees our mind to focus on higher goals rather than battling indecision. In essence, discipline is the silent force that shapes destiny. It is not glamorous, and it often goes unseen. But behind every great achievement lies the quiet, persistent work of discipline. It is the daily practice of showing up, even when we don't feel like it, that builds the strength of character required for self-mastery. If awareness is the beginning and discipline is the engine, then emotional control is the steering wheel of self-mastery. Without it, no matter how fast or disciplined we move, we can easily lose direction and crash into chaos. Emotional control does not mean suppressing our feelings. It means understanding them, managing them, and responding with wisdom rather than impulse. Emotions are powerful. They can lift us higher than mountains or pull us down into valleys of despair. They influence our decisions, shape our relationships, and define our experiences. Anger, fear, jealousy, and doubt are natural human emotions, but when they control us, they blind us and push us toward actions we later regret. On the other hand, emotions like love, gratitude, and compassion can empower us to act with strength, patience, and kindness. The key is not to deny emotions, but to become their master instead of their servant. Imagine a storm at sea. The storm itself is not the danger, it is the way the ship responds. If the captain panics, the ship may sink. But if the captain steadies the wheel, adjusts the sails, and waits for the storm to pass, the ship survives and even grows stronger. Our emotions are those storms, and emotional control is the skill of the steady captain. Developing emotional control begins with awareness of our triggers. What situations make us angry? What words spark fear? What memories ignite sadness? By noticing these triggers, we can prepare ourselves to respond calmly instead of exploding impulsively. For example, instead of shouting in anger, we pause, breathe, and choose words that heal rather than wound. Instead of freezing in fear, we remind ourselves of past victories and take one step forward. Breathing techniques, mindfulness, and reflection are powerful tools in this practice. A few seconds of calm breathing can prevent hours of regret. Journaling can help us untangle the knots of confusion. Reflection turns emotional pain into wisdom. Through these practices, emotions stop being chains that bind us and instead become signals that guide us. Another aspect of emotional control is detachment. This does not mean we stop caring. It means we stop clinging. We learn to accept that not everything is within our control, and we refuse to let every small setback steal our peace. Detachment creates balance. It teaches us to care deeply, but not collapse when things don't go as planned. True strength is not in hiding emotions, but in directing them toward growth. Anger, when channeled, becomes determination. Fear, when understood, becomes caution and wisdom. Sadness, when embraced, becomes compassion for others. Emotional control transforms raw energy into refined power. Ultimately, when we master our emotions, we gain inner freedom. We are no longer prisoners of circumstance, nor do we hand our peace to every insult, challenge, or setback. We remain steady, calm, and clear, no matter what storms arise. And in that steadiness lies the essence of self-mastery. If self-awareness is the foundation, discipline the structure, and emotional control the steering wheel, then purpose and vision are the destination of self-mastery. Without a destination, even the strongest ship and the most skilled captain will simply drift endlessly at sea. Purpose and vision give meaning to our efforts, direction to our discipline, and light to guide us through the darkest nights. Purpose answers the question, why am I here? Vision answers the question, where am I going? Together, they form the inner compass that keeps us steady when distractions, doubts, or difficulties arise. Many people live their lives without a clear sense of purpose. They chase goals given to them by society, family, or peers, money, status, recognition, yet often feel empty when they achieve them. Why? Because achievement without purpose is like climbing a ladder only to discover it was leaning against the wrong wall. Self-mastery requires us to lean our ladder against the right wall, the one that aligns with our values and true calling. Purpose is deeply personal. For some, it may be serving others. For others, it may be creating, teaching, healing, or innovating. It is not about what looks impressive to the world, but about what sets our soul on fire. Purpose is not found overnight. It is discovered through reflection, trial, and experience. But once discovered, it becomes the fuel that drives every action. Vision, on the other hand, takes that purpose and paints it into a picture of the future. Vision is purpose in motion. It allows us to see not only who we are, but who we can become. Without vision, even purposeful people may feel lost. Vision gives us goals to strive toward, milestones to achieve, and a future to build with intention. Purpose and vision also protect us from distractions. When we are clear about what matters most, we naturally say no to what doesn't. Distractions lose their power because they cannot compete with a burning purpose. For example, a person whose purpose is to inspire others through teaching will not be easily swayed by temptations that lead them away from growth and service. Another strength of purpose is that it gives meaning to suffering. Life will test us with hardships and setbacks, but when we are anchored in purpose, even pain becomes part of the path. The athlete who trains through exhaustion understands the purpose of growth. The parent who sacrifices for their child sees the purpose in love. Purpose transforms struggle into strength and suffering into meaning. And vision gives us resilience. When the present feels heavy, vision allows us to look beyond it, to a future worth enduring for. It whispers, "This is not the end. Keep going." Vision helps us rise each time we fall, because it reminds us that our journey is bigger than a single failure. In the end, purpose and vision are not luxuries. They are necessities for self-mastery. They provide the why and the where so that our awareness, discipline, and emotional strength all move in alignment. Without them, we may leave, but we will not truly live with meaning. With them, every step, no matter how small, becomes a step toward destiny. On the path to self-mastery, one truth is certain: life will test you. No matter how aware, disciplined, or purposeful you are, you will face setbacks, failures, disappointments, and moments of doubt. What separates those who give up from those who grow is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of resilience. Resilience is the ability to rise again after falling, to keep moving forward despite obstacles, and to transform challenges into stepping stones. It is the inner strength that whispers, "This is not the end. Try again." Without resilience, every failure becomes a dead end. With resilience, every failure becomes a lesson, and every setback becomes a setup for a greater comeback. Resilience is not about never being knocked down. It is about refusing to stay down. A resilient person does not deny pain, but they refuse to let pain define them. They do not ignore difficulty, but they refuse to let difficulty dictate their future. Instead, they bend without breaking, adjust without surrendering, and continue without losing faith in their ultimate vision. Think of the bamboo tree. For years, it shows little growth above the soil. Yet underground, its roots are spreading wide and deep. Then, suddenly, in just a short span of time, it shoots upward, growing rapidly to great heights. Life works in the same way. Sometimes it feels as though all your effort is invisible, unnoticed, or wasted. But beneath the surface, resilience is building unseen strength, preparing you for the moment when growth will finally break through. Resilience also teaches us perspective. A resilient mind does not see failure as the opposite of success, but as part of it. Every great inventor, leader, or visionary has faced rejection, criticism, and failure. Thomas Edison, when asked about his many failed experiments, said he had not failed. He had simply discovered thousands of ways that did not work. That mindset is resilience, seeing setbacks not as endings, but as lessons. Another crucial part of resilience is adaptability. Life rarely goes exactly as planned. Resilience is not stubbornly clinging to one path when it no longer serves us. It is the wisdom to adjust, to find new strategies, to bend without snapping. Just as a tree survives storms by swaying with the wind, we survive life storms by being flexible without losing our roots. And perhaps the greatest strength of resilience is hope. Hope is what keeps us trying one more time, even after repeated failures. Hope is what allows us to believe that tomorrow can be better than today, and that our story is not finished. Without hope, resilience fades. With hope, resilience becomes unshakable. Resilience is not built in moments of comfort. It is forged in the fires of challenge. Every hardship, every delay, every struggle is an opportunity to go stronger, wiser, and more determined. The more we endure, the more we discover the depth of our strength. And with each test we overcome, we move one step closer to mastering ourselves. In the pursuit of self-mastery, we often look forward to the future or dwell on the past. But the true power of mastery lies in the present moment. This is where mindfulness and presence come in. To master ourselves, we must learn to live fully in the now, because the present is the only moment in which we can act, grow, and experience life. Mindfulness is the practice of being aware, completely aware, of our thoughts, emotions, and surroundings without judgment. Presence is the ability to immerse ourselves fully in the current moment, without being distracted by what has already happened or what might happen later. Together, they form a powerful force that keeps us grounded, balanced, and clear. Why is this important? Because most people are not truly living in the present. Their minds are trapped in regrets of the past or worries about the future. They replay mistakes that cannot be undone, or they imagine problems that have not even occurred. This constant mental noise steals peace, clouds judgment, and disconnects us from reality. Mindfulness and present silence that noise. They bring us back to here and now, where life is actually happening. Being mindful allows us to see our thoughts and emotions for what they are, passing clouds, not permanent storms. Instead of being swept away by anger, we observe it. Instead of drowning in fear, we notice it. This simple act of observation creates space, and in that space lies the power to choose how we respond. Presence also deepens our experiences. When we eat mindfully, we truly taste our food. When we listen mindfully, we truly hear what others are saying, not just their words, but their emotions. When we work mindfully, our focus sharpens, our creativity expands, and our productivity improves. Life becomes richer, more meaningful, and more joyful when we are present for it. Mindfulness also trains the mind to slow down in a world that constantly demands speed. In our digital age, we are surrounded by distractions, notifications, noise, endless streams of information. The mind is always racing from one thing to another. But mindfulness reminds us that clarity does not come from doing more. It comes from being fully engaged in what we are doing. It is not about rushing through life, but about living it consciously. And presence is not only about peace, it is also about power. When we are fully present, we are sharper, more aware, and more effective. Athletes call this the zone. Musicians call it flow. In those moments of pure presence, time seems to fade, distractions disappear, and we perform at our highest potential. That is the gift of being present. It unlocks our best self. Mindfulness and presence also connect us with gratitude. When we slow down and notice the simple things, a breath, a sunrise, a smile, we realize how much we already have. Gratitude strengthens resilience, deepens joy, and keeps us grounded even in hardship. To practice mindfulness and presence does not require hours of meditation. It can begin with small acts, taking a deep breath before responding, putting the phone away while talking to someone, or pausing to notice the beauty around us. Each small act strengthens our ability to stay rooted in the moment. In essence, mindfulness and presence are the antidotes to distraction, regret, and worry. They anchor us in reality, sharpen our awareness, and allow us to live not as wanderers lost in time, but as masters fully awake to the gift of now. On the path to self-mastery, there is no final destination where we can say, I have arrived. I know it all. Growth is a lifelong journey, and the moment we stop learning, we stop evolving. Continuous learning is not just about gathering knowledge. It is about expanding our perspective, sharpening our skills, and deepening our understanding of both the world and ourselves. Knowledge is power, but wisdom is freedom. And wisdom is gained not in a single lesson or book, but in the ongoing practice of learning. The greatest masters throughout history, no matter how skilled, were also eternal students. They understood that mastery is not a static state, but a moving horizon. Each time we reach a new level of understanding, another level awaits us. Continuous learning keeps the mind alive. Just as the body weakens when neglected, the mind becomes stagnant when it is not challenged. Reading, reflecting, practicing, and seeking new ideas keep the mind sharp and flexible. A mind that continues to learn can adapt to change, solve problems creatively, and see opportunities where others only see obstacles. This principle applies not only to formal education, but to every aspect of life. Every failure has a lesson, every challenge a hidden teaching, every interaction a chance to grow. The resilient person does not ask, "Why did this happen to me?" but rather, "What can I learn from this?" That shift in mindset transforms setbacks into classrooms and mistakes into teachers. Continuous learning also requires humility. It means accepting that no matter how much we know, there is always more to discover. The arrogant mind closes itself off, but the humble mind stays open, curious, and receptive. Humility is the soil in which true wisdom grows. Another key element of continuous learning is unlearning. Sometimes mastery is not about adding more knowledge, but about letting go of outdated beliefs, toxic habits, or limiting assumptions. To unlearn is to free ourselves from the weight of the past so we can embrace new growth. Continuous learning also fuels purpose. When we learn, we expand our capacity to serve, to create, and to contribute. A teacher who learns becomes a better guide. A leader who learns becomes a better example. A parent who learns becomes a stronger role model. Our growth is not just for ourselves. It radiates outward, touching everyone around us. And perhaps the most beautiful aspect of continuous learning is that it keeps us young at heart. No matter our age, as long as we remain curious, as long as we seek new experiences and knowledge, we remain alive with possibility. A life of learning is a life of renewal, where every day carries the potential for discovery and transformation. Self-mastery demands this commitment to lifelong learning. Because the world is always changing, challenges are always evolving, and we ourselves are always unfolding. Continuous learning ensures that we do not remain fixed in yesterday's version of ourselves, but instead grow into the person we are meant to become. The final pillar of self-mastery is integrity and alignment. While awareness, discipline, emotional control, purpose, resilience, mindfulness, and learning build the structure of mastery, it is integrity that gives it strength and permanence. Without integrity, everything we achieve is fragile because the foundation of character is missing. Integrity is the harmony between our thoughts, words, and actions. It is living in a way where who we are inside matches what we show to the world outside. Too often, people wear masks, saying one thing but meaning another, promising but not delivering, pretending to be what they are not. This may bring temporary advantage, but it always leads to inner conflict. True self-mastery cannot exist where there is deceit, hypocrisy, or pretense. To live with integrity means to act in accordance with our values, even when it is difficult, even when no one is watching. It is keeping promises, not just to others, but to ourselves. How often do we break our own word, saying we will wake early, exercise, or study, but failing to follow through? Each time we do, we weaken trust in ourselves, but every time we honor our word, we strengthen that trust. Integrity, therefore, is not only about how others see us, it is about how we see ourselves. Alignment goes hand in hand with integrity. It means aligning our daily actions with our deeper purpose. Many people know what they value, but live in ways that contradict those values. They may value health, but neglect their bodies. Value family, but give no time to loved ones. Value honesty, but compromise when pressured. This misalignment creates inner tension, stress, and dissatisfaction. Alignment, however, brings peace. When our values, decisions, and behaviors are in sync, we experience inner harmony. Integrity also builds trust with others. A person of integrity does not need to convince others of their character. It shines through their consistency. People trust not those who speak the loudest, but those whose actions consistently reflect their words. In leadership, in relationships, and in community, integrity is the invisible currency that sustains respect and loyalty. Another dimension of integrity is moral courage, the courage to stand for what is right even when it is unpopular or costly. It is easy to stay true to our values when everything is convenient, but real integrity is tested in hardship. Do we stay honest when lies could bring advantage? Do we act fairly when no one would notice otherwise? Do we choose what is right over what is easy? These moments define not just our choices, but our very character. Living with integrity also brings clarity. When we are aligned, we do not waste energy pretending, hiding, or regretting. We move with confidence because our heart and mind are at peace. Integrity removes the inner conflict between who we are and who we want to appear to be. It simplifies life by replacing confusion with consistency. And perhaps the greatest gift of integrity is self-respect. When we live true to our values, we gain a quiet strength that no external recognition can provide. We may not always be applauded. We may not always be understood, but we will always know deep within that we stood by what was true. That self-respect becomes unshakable, and it is the essence of self-mastery. The path to self-mastery is not a single step, nor is it a final destination. It is a lifelong journey. Along this journey, we learn to know ourselves with honesty, to discipline our habits with consistency, to master our emotions with wisdom, to walk with vision and purpose, to rise with resilience, to live with presence, to grow through continuous learning, and to stand firm in integrity. Self-mastery is not about perfection. It is about progress. It is not about controlling the world. It is about controlling ourselves. And when we do, we discover a freedom greater than any external success, the freedom to live with clarity, peace, and strength, regardless of circumstances. So, let us each commit to this journey, not tomorrow, not someday, but today, for the greatest victory we can ever win is not over others, but over ourselves, and in mastering the self, we unlock the power to shape not only our own destiny, but to inspire and uplift everyone around us. Thank you.